We are going to discuss a very relevant and important topic in research methodology, that is tools of research. Before stepping to the session, we must know what is data, what are the types of data and data collection. We all know that data are raw materials of research. The tools and techniques employed to collect data largely depends on the objectives of the study. Suppose you are handling a class of standard 9 or 10 and you want to measure the learning outcome of the students. How will you measure it? With the help of an achievement test. So, whenever we plan for collecting data, we should ask ourselves the following questions. What information do we want to collect to answer our research questions implied in our objectives of the research? This refers to the selection of the variable. And the second question is, what approach will be followed to collect this information? This refers to the choice of the study design. And the last question is, what techniques and tools will be used to collect data? This refers to the data collection techniques. Now we should know what is data collection. The process by which the researcher collects the information needed to answer the research problem is data collection. And the data is classified into two types, that is the primary data and the secondary data. The primary data means it's a type of data that is collected directly from main sources. That is, from the fresh data or the first-hand sources are referred to as primary data. And the secondary data means data collected by someone else for some other purpose. Example, published papers or unpublished notes, etc. All these refer to as secondary data. But it can be utilized by the investigator. Now we can skip into the types of research tools. What are the types of research tools? And I have mentioned some of the research tools here, and namely attitude scale, rating scale, observation, interview, schedule, checklist, inventory, sociometry, opinioner, and so on. Now we shall discuss this one by one. First one is attitude scale. I think you might have heard this attitude scale. Now we should know what is meant by attitude. Henry Ford has given a good definition. Think you can or think you can't. Either way you will be right. That is referred to as attitude. I think you have understood what is attitude. Think you can or think you can't. Either way you will be right. Now, attitude is an established way of thinking or feeling reflected in a person's behavior towards others. It can also be mentioned as it is a tendency to respond positively or negatively towards a certain idea, object, person or situation. I would like to quote a good example. Suppose we want to measure the attitude of teachers towards new educational policy 2020. Some may have positive attitude towards this and some are having negative attitude. This is a good example for the tendency to respond positively or negatively towards a situation or an object or a certain idea or a person. In addition to this, it influences a person's choices of action. Attitude continuum extends from favorableness through neutral to unfavorableness. It extends from favorableness through neutral to unfavorableness. It can be scaled in two dimensions, namely bipolar and unipolar. Bipolar means from positive to negative or negative to positive. Unipolar means away from neutral towards negative or away from neutral towards the positive. Next, the components of measuring attitudes. There are three components for measuring attitude. One is the affective component, and the second one is the cognitive component, and the third one is the behavioral component. Now we shall see it one by one. The affective component reflects an individual's general feelings or emotions. Example, I love my job or I hate ice cream. Both comes under the affective component. Second one is the cognitive component. It refers to one's awareness and knowledge about an object. I would like to give an example. A woman might feel happy about her job because she believes that the pay is great, or she knows that her job is the biggest challenge. And third component is the behavioral component. It refers to the intentions and behavioral expectations are reflected in these components, which reflects a predisposition to action. Now we shall discuss about the attitude scale. Attitude scale assesses the attitude or belief of an individual. An attitude scale is a special type of questionnaire designed to produce some scores indicating the intensity and direction of a person's feelings about an object or event. It is also designed to measure attitudes of a subject or group of subject towards certain issues or institution and group of people. It is designed to provide a valid or accurate measure of an individual's social attitude. Or an attitude scale is a tool. In short, we can tell it as an attitude scale is a tool prepared for the purpose of measuring people's attitude towards an issue or an institution and group of peoples. Characteristics of attitude scale. It provides for quantitative measure on a unidimensional scale of continuum. That is, the quantitative measure is on a unidimensional scale of continuum. It uses statements from the extreme positive position to extreme negative position. It generally uses a 5-point scale as strongly agree, undecided, disagree, and strongly disagree. The individual gets the score as the sum of the items, total sum of the items. This attitude scale is usually standardized and norms are also worked out. Next, we shall skip on to the 3 dimensions incorporated in a scale. What are the dimensions that are incorporated in an attitude scale? First dimension is the direction, and the second dimension is the degree, and the third dimension is the intensity. Direction means the first. Now we shall look on to the first dimension, that is the direction. It is a positive or negative feeling about something, or it is an important aspect of an attitude. For example, I like horses. It comes under the positive direction. I don't like horses means negative direction. And the second dimension is degree. Degree describes the amount of liking or disliking attached to the attitude. Amount of liking or disliking attached to an attitude. The students, for example, students may have different degrees of liking, which can be measured from a moderate to strong to very strong. The idea of degree can be applied to the negative feelings towards us. Not only the positive feelings, it can be applied to the negative feelings towards an object also. And the third dimension is intensity. It shows the strength of feeling. That is, at a high degree of intensity, some given kind of behavior is motivated. Also, the comparison of strength of one attitude to another may determine which one becomes the basis of action. Example, I am crazy about horses. This shows how the intensity, that is, this example shows high intensity of attitude. That is, I am crazy about horses. That means it shows high intensity of attitude. Next, we shall see the types of attitude scale. I have mentioned only a few types of attitude scale. Simple attitude scaling, thrust-on scale, Likert scale, and semantic differential scale. Now, we shall see it one by one. And the first one is simple attitude scaling. Attitude scaling means it requires an individual agree or disagree with the statement, or we are responding to a single questions. There are 2 categories under the simple attitude scaling, yes or no. So, The respondent has to respond to a single question by two categories, by any one of the two categories, that is yes or no. This is simple attitude scaling. And the second type is Thurston scale, and it is the first formal method designed to measure the attitude, and it was developed by Louis Leon Thurston in the year 1928. This is also known as method of equal appearing interval. It consists of statements which have a range of weights from high, that is usually 11 to usually 1, that is low. Here, the subjects select the attitude and statements they agree with the most. I would like to tell you an example. A Thurston scale is a series of related dichotomous statements. In the Thurston scale, we used to give a series of related dichotomous statements. Example, I am inspired to meet my goals at work. Whether you agree with this statement or disagree with this statement. Anything. If you agree means you can put a tick as agree, and if you disagree with this statement, we can give it as disagree. And then that is this one. I feel, another example is, I feel completely involved in my work. Whether you agree with this statement or disagree with this statement. And the next type of scale is the Likert scale. And the Likert scale is the most popular attitude scale, and it is also known as summated rating scale. It is also known as summated rating scale, and it was given by Francis Likert in the year 1932. It is also known, the other name of Likert scale is summated rating scale, and it is a scale used to measure the attitude wherein the respondents are asked to indicate the level of agreement, whether they are agreeing with the statement or disagreement, whether they are disagreeing with the statement related to the stimulus objects. Actually, it is typically a 5 response category scale ranging from strongly disagree to strongly agree, and the purpose of this Likert scale is to identify the attitude of people towards the given stimulus objects by asking them the extent to which they agree or disagree with them. Often the respondents are presented with certain questionnaires containing the set of statements to rate their attitude towards the object. For example, the respondents might be asked to rate their purchase experience with stop by assigning the score as 1 for strongly disagree, 2 for disagree, 3 for neither agree nor disagree, 4 for agree, and 5 for strongly agree to the series of statements. Some series of statements are given. Example, shop is top, sell high quality merchandise. I like to shop from shop is top. It offers several credit schemes. It charges fair prices. I like the way Shop is Top advertising these products. Like the certain statements are asked, we have to respond to the statements whether we are strongly agreeing with the statement or we are disagreeing with the statement or neither agreeing nor disagreeing. It is given in a 5-point scale. That is, it is typically a 5 response category scale ranging from strongly disagree to strongly agree. That is, the purpose of a Likert scale is to identify the attitude of a people towards the stimulus object by asking them to what extent they agree or disagree with them. So, this is the Likert scale, and I would like to quote with an example. See, the first statement is, Wikipedia has a user-friendly interface where we are strongly agreeing with this statement or strongly agreeing with this statement or neutral or disagree or strongly disagree. It's a 5-point scale. And here in this statement it is given as agree and endomorph is given as agree. This is a type of example for Likert type. And another type of Likert method is we can represent it in this form also. See, the first statement, heaven does not exist at an actual place or location. Where you are agreeing means you are strongly agreeing the statement means you have to put a tick mark in the first column, and if you are agreeing means you have to put a tick mark in the second column. Undecided, neither agreeing or disagree means or undecided. You can put a tick mark in the third column. Whether you are disagreeing with the statements in the fourth column and they strongly disagree means number 5. Like this you can give the responses. And the next one is semantic differential scale. Semantic differential scale is a 7-point scale. And the n points of the scale are associated with bipolar label. See, I will show it in the next slide. Bipolar, here clean to dirty. 2 poles will be there. In the 2 poles, we will represent in some phrases or words will be given. That is honest to dishonest, kind to cruel, helpful to unhelpful, fair to biased, or strong to weak, foolish to wise, energetic to lazy, unreliable to reliable, and so on. These are the bipolar labels. So, semantic differential scale is a 7-point scale, and at the end points of the scale are associated with bipolar labels. This scale helps to determine overall similarities and differences among objects. Overall similarities, see in the bulbs, 4 of them are showing the similarities and 1 difference. So, in this way, we can represent the similarities and differences among objects. So, the semantic difference scale is the 7-point scale, and at the end points of the scale are associated with bipolar labels. See, the similarities and the scale also helps to determine the overall similarities and differences. See the picture. The picture easily represents the 4 similarities and 1 difference. And the next one is the rating scale. Rating scale is also a kind of scale which consists of a set of categories designed to elicit some information about a quantitative or a qualitative attribute. So, rating scale is a set of categories designed. We are designing and eliciting some information about some quantitative data or some qualitative data. It also refers to a scale with a set of some opinions which describes varying degree of the dimensions of an attitude being observed. It is simply, we can tell it as it is a device by which judgments may be qualified or an opinion concerning a trait can be systemized. Purpose of rating scale. Rating scale can be utilized in several ways for measuring the teacher's performance or effectiveness, for assessing the personality, anxiety, stress, emotional intelligence, etc. School appraisal, including the appraisal of courses, practices and programs, all these things can be assessed using this rating scale. And the points to be considered in the rating scale may be a 3-point scale or 5-point scale. In 3-point scale, we can give it as above average, average, below average, or always, sometimes, never. Whatever we need, we can give it. In the 5-point scale, we can give it as excellent, very good, good, average, poor. Next, we can skip on to the types of rating. There are so many types of rating scale. I have mentioned 4 types of rating scale, that is descriptive rating scale, numerical rating scale, graphical rating scale and comparative rating scale. We shall see it one by one. First one is the descriptive rating scale. In this descriptive rating scale, descriptive terms or phrases are assigned to each trial. For each trial, we are giving some descriptive terms or phrases. The rater enters the appropriate phrases after each name to indicate the judgment of the person. That is, see the picture below average, satisfactory or very good or excellent or outstanding. Like this we are giving. See one example. To what extent does the student participate in discussion? Never participates or participates as much as other group members, participates more than any group. These are the descriptions. So, the descriptive rating scale shows some descriptive phrases. And the next one is the numerical rating scale. In numerical rating scale, it's a type of rating scale that requires the respondent to provide his or her feedback in terms of some numerical values. Here in numerical rating scale, it uses some numbers to rate the performance. It uses some numbers to rate the performance. And a numerical rating scale is typically used to quantify qualitative data. Mainly it is used to quantify the qualitative data, not quantitative data, qualitative data such as pain, feelings, product satisfaction, likelihood to recommend, customer loyalty, and like. All these things can be measured with the help of this numerical rating scale. And the next one is that we can see one more example. See numbers. We are assigning some numbers. See the numbers representing the following values. Number 1 for unsatisfactory, number 2 for below average, number 3 for average, number 4 for above average, and number 5 for outstanding experience. And the next one is the graphic rating scale. A graphic rating scale presents respondents with a graphic continuum. That is, in this scale, a straight line is shown horizontally with various clues to help the rater. The line is either segmented into units or it may be in the form of continuous. Line may be in the form of continuous or in the form of units. If the line is segmented, the number of segments can be varied from case to case. The number of segments varies from case to case. The rater is asked to judge the level of effectiveness for each ratee using that rating continuum. Then the research has indicated that 5 to 9 scale points result in highest quality of rating. And these graphic rating scales are simple to administer. It is very simple to administer because see this example in a line it represents in the form of a continuum. See the continuum from never to always or from always to never. I am reading the first statement. To what extent does the student participate in discussion? Always or frequently or occasionally or seldom or never. It is represented in a continuum. So it is called as graphic rating scale. And the last type is the comparative rating scale. The comparative rating scale provides a point of comparison. Whether we are comparing it with X is compared with another Y. So it provides a point of comparison for respondents to provide answers. Therefore, all the respondents will have a uniform point of comparison for selecting answers. Whether X is better than Y or X both are same or both are excellent. We can make a comparison for selecting the answers. See, one example is given. Respondent is asked to rate the sweet shop X in comparison to sweet shop Y in Kochi. Whether it is excellent or very good or both or same or poor or very poor. Like this way we can compare the products. And the next type of research tool is observation. I think you all have heard this observation. Observation is nothing but we are observing a respondent. The information is sought by the way investigators own direct observation. We are observing a thing and without asking any permission from the respondent. Nothing to ask. We can just observe him and write the finding. That is form of observation. There are some steps for an effective observation. We have to determine all these things. Determine what needs. First, we have to determine what needs to be observed. And next, we have to select the participants. After determining the needs, we have to select the participants. The participants can be selected randomly or the selected participants. And next, we have to conduct the observation. While conducting the observation, we have to keep in mind where is the venue of observation, what is the duration, what are the recording materials required, whether we have to take some photographs or not. Like this, while conducting the observation, these things to be kept in mind. After observation, we are compiling the collected data and analyzing and interpret the data collected. So these are the steps for an effective observation. And there are several types of observation. I have mentioned 6 types of observation, and the first one is structured observation, unstructured observation, participant observation, non-participant observation, controlled observation, and uncontrolled observation. Structured, we shall see it one by one. In the structured observation means, first we have to determine what are the units to be observed, the style of recording the observed information, what are the standardized conditions of observation, and the selection of the pertinent data of observation. So when we are keeping all these things in mind and conducting the observation, then it is known as structured observation. And the next one is unstructured observation. When the observation is to take place without all these things, that is the units to be observed, or the style of recording, or the standardized conditions, or selection of the pertinent data to be thought in advance, then it is known as unstructured observation. That is, unstructured observation means when the observation is to take place without any characteristics to be thought in advance, then it is known as unstructured observation. And the next one is the participant observation. That means if the observer observes by making himself more or less a member of the group, he is observing. He is also a part of that group, so that he can experience what the members of the group experience. Then that type of observation is known as participant observation. I am giving an example. The researcher is a participant in an Alcoholics Anonymous group and is observing something about that group. Then this is known as participant observation. That is, the observer plays a double role, participant and as well as an observer. He is playing a double role. And the next type is non-participant observation. When the observer observes without any attempt on his part to experience the participation, what others feel, then that observation is known as non-participant observation. And the next type is if the uncontrolled observation and controlled observation. Uncontrolled observation means if the observation takes place in the natural setting, it may be termed as uncontrolled observation. But when the observation takes place according to definite pre-arranged plans involving experimental procedure, the same is then termed as controlled observation. It has some limitations also. The first limitation is it is an expensive method. The information provided by this method is very limited, very limited, because while observing we can get a little bit information. And another limitation is sometimes unforeseen factors may also interfere while the observation task is going on. Some other factors may also interfere. So these are the limitations of observation. And the next type of research tool is interview. You all might have heard this interview. Interview means it's a oral type of question where the subject supplies the needed information in a face-to-face situation. It is specially appropriate for dealing with children, illiterates, dull and the abnormal. All these things we can use this observation. I am giving an example for this. A doctor if you want to measure the aggressive behavior in children, we can directly go to the those who are handling the aggressive behavior people. You can directly interview them and we will get some sort of information from them. That is face-to-face situation. We can meet it and we can interview them and gather some information. And this interview method of data collection involves the presentation of oral verbal stimuli and reply in terms of oral verbal responses. We are giving a stimuli, that is we are asking some questions and they are giving some responses. That is face-to-face interview. This method can be used through personal interview or if possible through telephone interviews. It can be conducted either by personal interview or by telephone interview. Personal interview method means it requires a person. We all know it requires a person known as the interviewer asking some questions in face-to-face contact to another person. This sort of interview may be in the form of direct personal investigation or it may be in the form of indirect oral investigation. And the another type is telephone interview. This method of collecting information consists in contacting the respondents on telephone itself. Nowadays, due to this corona pandemic also, most of the interviews are conducted through telephone only, telephonic interview, and they are placing the students in certain jobs, etc. It is not a widely method, but it plays an important part in industrial surveys, particularly in some developed countries, they are following this telephonic interview. But today in the present situation, we are also following this type of telephonic interview. And then next another certain types of interviews are also here. Group interview. Group interview means a group of 6 to 8 individuals is interviewed. That is known as group interview. Qualitative and quantitative interview. It is divided on the basis of the subject matter, whether it is quantitative or qualitative. And another type of interview is individual interview. Individual interview means the interviewer meets a single person and interviews him. That is individual interview. Selection interview means it is done for the selection of people for certain jobs only. And another type of interview is depth interview. Depth interview means it is somewhat different. It deliberately aims to elicit unconscious as well as other types of material relating, especially to assess the personality dynamics and motivation. These are some of the types of interviews. And the next one is schedule method. Schedule method, it is one of the important methods of collecting data for the study of some social problems. If there is a problem in the society, then we can collect those. Through this schedule method, we can collect the data. Schedules like questionnaires, but it is filled by an enumerator. This is very, very important. Schedules are same as questionnaires, but it is filled by the enumerators. And we should know what is the role of the enumerator. Here, enumerators are specially appointed for filling these questionnaires. They will explain the aim and objective to the responder and fill the answers in the provided space. While conducting a schedule, these schedules are being filled in by the enumerators who are specially appointed for this, should be specially appointed for this purpose. These enumerators along with the schedules go to the respondents, put to them the questions from the proforma in the order of the questions, and the orders are listed and recorded, and then the respondent replies in the space meant for the same. In certain situations, schedules may be handed over to the respondents and enumerators may help them in recording their answers to various questions in the sets about schedules. And nice words are given. In the words of Thomas Carson McCormick, the schedule is nothing more than a list of questions which it seems necessary to test the hypothesis. And the next type is the checklist. I think you all have heard this checklist. Checklist, we used to tell checklist. Checklist is a selected list of words or phrases or sentences and paragraphs following which an observer records a check mark. to denote whether the presence of whatever is being observed, what we are going to observe. It is known as the checklist. In this checklist, it calls for a simple yes or no judgment. The main purpose of this checklist is to call attention to various aspects of an object or situation to see that nothing of importance is followed. I'd like to give you an example. If you have to go out for outing for a week, you have to list what things you have to take with you. Before leaving home, we will check our baggage. With the least, there will be less chance of forgetting to take any important things like toothbrush, toothpaste, towels, and another thing. It ensures the completeness of the details of the data. So, the responses are largely a matter of fact, not of judgment. It is an important tool in gathering facts for educational surveys. Another example we can give it while purchasing books from the schools, they used to give a big checklist whether the books are available, science textbook is available or maths textbook is available. Like this, they used to give a sort of items. We have to check it. And the next type of tool is the sociometry. Sociometry is a quantitative method for measuring social relationship. Here we are measuring the social relationship based on the fact that people make choices in their interpersonal relationship. People are making choices in their interpersonal relationship. Here in this method, a person is asked to choose one or more persons according to certain specified criteria in order to find out the person with whom he will like to associate. That is choices in interpersonal relationship. Whenever people gather, they may make some choices where to sit or stand, who is perceived as friendly and who not, who is central to the group, who is rejected or who is isolated. So it is a powerful tool. The sociometry is a powerful tool for group work. Who have in this sociometry, who have many choices are called stars. Those with few or no choice is called isolates. And groups of 3 or more people in a large groups are called cliques. And the next type is the inventory. Inventory means it is a list or record containing certain traits, preferences, attitudes, interests or abilities used to evaluate a person's characteristics or skills. One good example is their strong vocational interest. If you want to assess the vocational interest of certain persons, we can give this strong vocational interest inventory. And in this, an inventory means it is a kind of self-report instrument. The individual can check the responses to certain questions or some statements, and it attempts to yield a measure of the types of activities. What are the activities that an individual has a tendency to like or to choose? These can be assessed with the help of inventories. And there are so many types of interest measurement. That is direct questioning, direct observation, tested interest, interest inventory and personality. Now we shall see it one by one. Direct questioning means it presents question like, do you like to play cricket? That means direct questioning. They will answer it as yes or no. Direct observation means behavior of the individual is observed and it is found out in which activity the individual is more interested. Like this can be assessed through direct observation. And the third one is tested interest. This means the individual is exposed to various experiences related to different types of interests. And it is observed in which area the individual is showing more interest. That is tested interest. And next type is interest inventory. This is the most preferred way of measuring interest. And it consists of various statements and the individual is asked to arrange them in the order of their preference. Mostly interest inventories are of verbal type only. Then the last type is the personality inventory. The personality inventory attempts to measure certain personality traits such as individual's needs, adjustments, etc. It consists of questions of yes or no type. And the last type is opinioner. Opinioner is more or less synonymous to attitude scale. Opinioner means it is a special form of inquiry. It is used by the researcher to collect the opinion of some sample of population. We can collect the opinion of some sample of population. And we can use this for this type. We can use this opinioner. Thank you.